Hello Internet, my name is Hazel from Hazelnuttygames. It's almost Saturday. Today is Thursday, and I'm doing the vlog early this week because we had the expansion announcement of what the next expansion is going to be. So, as I'm sure you must know, I really hope that you watched the, either watched the stream or caught the vlogs or like the VODs or like maybe leafed through. They've got a really cool looking Legion website. Next expansion is World of Warcraft Legion, and that is what I want to talk about today. They unveiled quite a few new aspects of this upcoming expansion, and everything, it looks pretty good. We're going to get more information, more detailed information about this on Sunday. There is a stream, another WoW stream about this expansion happening this upcoming Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific time, so like, take the time that the announcement was, like today's announcement was in your time, then back it up an hour and stick it on Sunday and you'll have it. Unless it's not Sunday in your time. But anyways, Sunday Pacific time, they're going to be talking more about more information, and I'm really waiting for that because they gave us a lot of information, but a lot of the information kind of raised more questions than it answered, so I can't wait for that. But let's talk about what they talked about. So the new, I'd say the biggest exciting thing, you know, generally speaking, the thing that's going to most appeal to a lot of people is they're adding a new class. Now, I'm really quite surprised by this. Not so much like after the speculation. I kind of got the sense that they might add a new class from everything that was floating around the internet. I don't know if they should. I feel like balancing the classes they already have is enough of a task for them, and that there wasn't really a hole in the class archetypes that Demon Hunter really needed to fill, but screw it, we're getting Demon Hunters. So, Demon Hunters are a 2-spec class, which is unprecedented, obviously. One spec is melee DPS, and the other spec is going to be tanking. They are elf only, they are leather wearers, and they use all the rogue weapons, basically. You know, daggers, swords, maces, you know, all the little stabby things, like dual-wielding stabby things, are the weapons that they are going to use. So, let's talk about 2 specs for a second. 2 specs initially confused me a lot because I was sure that if they did some kind of Demon Hunter class, they would somehow wrangle in there a ranged spec that either uses a bow so they can compete with hunters for bow loot, or maybe they just, you know, they throw glaives or wind or I-beams or something. It's true that having a ranged Demon Hunter spec would be kind of a little too much like a Demonology Warlock, which is obviously a ranged, you know, it's a ranged spec that turns into, and metamorphosizes into a demon and, you know, has, like, fell flames and stuff. Anyways, I understand, I guess I kind of get why they didn't do a ranged spec, but I am disappointed that they didn't, just because I wanted a new ranged spec to play. I thought playing a ranged Shadow Hunter, Demon Hunter kind of thing would be really cool, but that's just not what they've never done that in lore. I don't believe Demon Hunters have ever been especially ranged in lore, and that may cause confusion between hunters and demon hunters that are, you know, if they were both ranged. So I understand why they only have 2 specs. I'm a little disappointed personally, but that's just me because I wanted to be I want another ranged spec, but that's A plus okie dokie, all right. So like I said, they have their melee spec and then their tanking spec. So we are getting a 3rd leather tanking spec in the game, which is kind of cool. Again, a little oversaturation on the leather. Now we only have 2 classes that use mail and like 4 that use leather: monks, druids, rogues, and now demon hunters. But you know, nobody says all the numbers have to match up anyway, so we're good. We're good, and having all these different tank specs doesn't really matter as much anymore in terms of loot distribution because there isn't really tank gear anymore now with this new Warlords model. Like, obviously there's tank trinkets and there's tank weapons, but those are something that are, you know, they're tank specific and they're not armor type specific. So if there's a piece of leather, it's going to be, you know, depending on secondaries, just as good for a rogue as it's going to be for a tanking demon hunter or a tanking bear or a monk or whatever it is, depending on assuming they stick with the system they introduced in Warlords, which I have to assume they're going to. So yeah, they have 2 specs. They're melee, they are super mobile, they gave them double jump, and people are collectively like getting really hyped and flipping their shit over double jump, which is really funny. I mean, sure, it gives you more mobility to access things in-game that maybe other classes can't get to, but I don't think that's that overpowered, honestly, because we can fly. with our birdie wings, or, I mean, druids have birdie wings. Most people, hire birds to help them out with that sort of thing. But, flying's coming to Draenor, and I have to assume we don't know how flying is going to be handled on the Broken Isles yet, which is our new continent. I have to assume that it's going to be Draenor-like in that either you reach max level and do some achievements and get it, or you reach max level, do some achievements, and you wait for a post-patch to get it. We'll see kind of how that shakes out to be. I have to assume that's what it is. I don't know. We don't know that yet. Hopefully we'll find out on Sunday. But yeah, like, we can fly in this world, so double jump, while convenient and super cool, especially with elves that, they do their little flippy things. I don't think it's as crazy as it sounds. It's going to be very good, I believe, for battlegrounds, especially if it allows demon hunters to take shortcuts that no other classes can get. That's kind of cool, and I'm game for that. But yeah, I don't think double jump I don't think it's game breaking. I think it's really cool, and I'm glad they're doing it, but I don't think it is game breaking. The only other ability that I saw, they pointed out a couple of them. They've got like a charge, they've got, some stuns, they'll have a full toolkit. But they gave them this thing, and obviously it's just an announcement. We haven't even looked at beta yet. Things can change, but I want to say it was called Shadow Sight. It basically allows the demon hunter to detect, like, see through walls, which is cool and may have some interesting, like, PvE applications. But it lets them see through walls, and it lets them see stealth. And it's on a big cooldown. They had it as a 2-minute cooldown, and they make it even bigger. But that's concerning to me just because if we're looking at an arena situation, the main time, like, the majority of the time that stealth is going to be useful is in setting up an opener for a stealth class. For example, as a Resto Druid, getting caught out of stealth early or in a bad position is, like, the worst thing that can happen to me in an opener and can actually end a game if I'm not ready for it. So, having one class that can just see stealth on a button whenever the hell they want. It doesn't matter how big the cooldown is, because the beginning of the match is the only time it's not the only time it's going to matter, but it's the time it's going to matter 90% of the time. Said the word time a lot. That's concerning to me, but we'll see how it plays out. It's still very early, and, we'll see. I betcha, just based on historical anecdotal evidence and what happened with Death Knights, I bet they're gonna tune them to be a tiny bit on the OP side at launch to try and encourage people trying them out and converting. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna try one. I don't think it's gonna be my new main. I've never been a melee person, and I'm really excited to see what's going to be in store for my Shadow Priest in this upcoming expansion. But I'll definitely try it out. Maybe it'll be the melee PvP character I never knew that I wanted. And then the only other thing I can think about Demon Hunters, I probably said it already, but yeah, Demon Hunters are a hero class, which means they do not start from level 1. I am surprisingly on board with this. I always thought it'd be kind of weird if they did it again, but it's kind of neat that if you want to play a Demon Hunter, you don't have to start again at the very beginning like monks do. So they don't have to add in another wonky catch-up mechanic like monks have with their 50% XP buff that you can stack up by doing that daily. So, we don't know yet exactly what level that Demon Hunters will start at. I have to assume it's somewhere in the range of between 90 and 100, like maybe 85 at the very earliest, so that they can get back into the action very quickly. It'll be a little weird, actually, if it's not 100 just in my head, because, you roll a Demon Hunter and you go through the story and you're ready to, like, go to the Broken Isles and fight the Legion, and no, wait, you gotta go to Draenor, there's, like, these orcs. There's a garrison here, Commander, go. So yeah, hopefully 100, but we'll see. Yeah, I think they're kind of neat. So, what else did they talk about? Artifact weapons seem to be one of the big defining features. Like last expansion for Warlords, when they were announcing it, they talked about a number of different things they were adding, but there was like a couple big, like, cornerstone features of this expansion that they were really pushing, and it seems like artifact weapons is that sort of thing for this expansion. It looks like, based on the announcement, instead of having like a whole bunch of small to medium changes to the game and like new systems, they're going for like 1 or 2 or 3 just like big, words have left me, but big changes, and they're committing to them, which makes me hopeful because it means that it's unlikely that any of the things that they announced are going to get cut. They might get gutted a little bit if their development schedule like gets behind or whatever, but I think it would be very weird if they just outright cut any of the major features they announced today, which is something people were concerned about after what happened with Warlords and like the Bladespire Carabor whole shindangle boomble. So yeah, artifact weapons is a weapon that stays with you. You get it in the Broken Shores experience. You pick it up from a fallen hero who has either fallen or lost hope, which opens up some, all the lore people are losing their minds, like, oh my god, which people are gonna die, because based on the looks of the website and the descriptions of some of the major lore characters here, some people may or may not be on the chopping block. Like, we got Sylvanas out there, we got Thrall out there, there's Tyrion Fordring, obviously, and do they die or do they lose hope? Some of them will die and some of them will lose hope, and we don't know who is who yet, but that's a different story. Anyways, after they either A, die or B, lose hope, you go together, you get their weapon from wherever it was they dropped it, which is not just on the Broken Shores, it's all over Azeroth, and that's, I think, kind of cool. People have been asking for class quests, more class quests for a long time, and it's neat that, this will be spec-specific content. I don't know how much content it is. For all I know, it's like a 10-minute quest chain. You get your weapon, you're like, whoa, I'm done. But it's spec-specific content that you go into the world to get your artifact weapon, and then as you level up through the Broken Isles, you're going to gain artifact power, which sounds to me kind of like a currency, to sort of level up your weapon and progress through like this weird weapon talent tree, which you can progress through in some different ways. It's got some progression choices to unlock different abilities, things that augment your character. What this sounds like to me is a reimagining of the Draenor perk system. In Draenor, you'll probably recall, every other level, you would unlock a perk from a list of predetermined perks that you were to get between 90 and 100. And then when you're finally leveled up, you'd have all of them. Is kind of like an interesting way of, A, putting in some class changes. Things like, for example, Shadow Priests gained the ability to have 5 Shadow Orbs instead of 3, which is fairly significant. While also rewarding you for leveling up. So this feels kind of like that, except instead of being tied to your character experience, it's tied to your artifact power, which you're dumping into your artifact weapon. So, what are the concerns with this artifact weapon system? Obviously, it's the super cool legendary weapon that you have picked up from a fallen hero, you and literally everybody else that plays this game. So there's the concern that there's going to be visual saturation of these weapons. Everybody is going to have one. From the sounds of it, there may not even be drops. There may not even be weapons from raids and dungeons and leveling, because you're using your artifact weapon, and so much of this expansion seems kind of built around that system. So everybody's going to have one. Now, to counter that, they put in the system where you can visually customize. You can unlock different visual customization options for your artifact weapon through various activities. Some of them will probably be default. Some of them will probably be achievement-based. At least one of them is PvP prestige-based, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But yeah, you can visually customize it, and then within each visual thing, like within Corrupted Ashbringer or Flaming Ashbringer or whatever, you have like 3 to 5-ish different color variants so that you can customize your weapon and make it fit your transmog, or, just follow your heart, do whatever you want. So hopefully that helps the people look different enough, especially if you add on the fact that it's not just one weapon per class, it's one weapon per spec, so 36 of these things. Especially if you play a lesser played spec, like if you're an Ellie Shaman, you're not going to see everybody using the same thing that you are. So hopefully it doesn't feel too much less epic, so it doesn't feel that lame because everybody has one, but there's no way to really gauge that until we get into it. And it looks like, to me, they didn't say anything about legendaries. They may do legendaries on top of this system, but to me it feels like this kind of replaces the legendary cloak, legendary ring experience that people have gotten kind of sick of. This big giant grind to continually upgrade one really cool piece of gear seems focused on this weapon, which I don't think it's legendary in quality. I don't know what color the text is going to be yet, but because there's so many different versions of them, it's not quite the same thing. And I think that's kind of an interesting way of doing it. It's nice to see them changing up their ideas and trying new things, and not just like sticking with the same formulas for the sake of sticking with the same stuff. Yeah, so there are some questions that the whole artifact weapon system brings up. Obviously, I want to know if transmog is going to still work. Like, what if I have a really cool weapon transmog? Am I still going to be able to use that? What weapon types? Like, some classes or some specs will use different weapon types depending on the stats they have. So, like, as a priest or a druid, do I use a dagger? Do I use a dagger? Like, do I use a dagger offhand? Am I going to get a staff? Am I going to get a mace? Like, what's the dealio there? And then is this specific to the Legion expansion? It sounds like it's specific to Legion expansion. It sounds like something that you're going to have throughout Legion, and by the time Legion is over, you're probably going to feel kind of done with it. But from a lore standpoint, it's real weird to pick up, Ashbringer, spend a whole epic year-long adventure upgrading it into this giant, super cool, legendary, like literally legendary Ashbringers, like, and of course most of the other weapons. They're this stuff of legends. And then you finish the expansion, they come out with something new, and you're like, well, that's it. I'm done with this thing. It's no good anymore. Let me go grab a, you know, fishy spear stick out of this, whatever the next expansion is after that. So we'll see. That's a question, obviously, for very far in the future, but it'll be interesting to see kind of how they handle us having such a cool, like, monumental weapon going into an expansion after that. But that's way, way off. So what else was there? Class orders. Class orders looks to be sort of the evolution of the garrison, except for being, instead of being player housing, it's not zoned, it's not single player, so you will see other people of your class running around in wherever your class order hub is. You get a class-specific area with presumably some quest content and sort of like followers. They're sort of integrating the old garrison follower system into these class orders, except instead of like having a whole bunch of followers, you're going to have a couple of more impactful champions, which I have to assume are class themed, and I think that's kind of neat. They were talking about how these champions, instead of just sending them to do cool things, they can scout things that you can go then do, and they can have effects on your abilities in a zone if they're also in that zone or something like that. We don't really know a whole lot about how champions are going to pan out, but it sounds like they've learned some lessons from the Draenor follower experience, and I'm glad to see they're carrying it forward, because I actually really liked the core concept of followers in Draenor. Obviously, the gameplay of it on 9 or 10 alts got kind of old after a while, just logging in everyone and sending them all out on whatever missions with master plan, not even looking at what they are. But I'm glad they're carrying the concept forward, and I hope it becomes more interesting and, you know, gratifying to do in this new expansion. So it'll also be kind of cool to have like a neat little hangout club to hang out with other people of your class. Like, I feel like they're really pushing class identity. They said, actually, in those many words, they're pushing class identity with this expansion, and it'll be kind of, I feel like there's going to be a sense of like solidarity among other people of your chosen class or the class you're playing at the time. And I think that's kind of neat that I can just sort of run around wherever it is the priest ends up being. They're putting the paladins below the Cathedral of Light for Alliance. No, never mind. Wherever the priests end up chilling. So I am looking forward to that. It doesn't seem like it's going to be as central to the storyline as garrisons were, and that is a good thing. So it'll be kind of nice to have that sort of as flavor in the background. So the thing that they talked about today that I'm personally most excited about is this new PvP honor system. Now, we know almost nothing about it. They talked about it for a while, and they gave us some good info, but we so need more details. I'm hoping they get into some real depth on this on Sunday. But basically, the gist of it, they said that in Legion, gear will not be very impactful on your power in PvP. So, and with this new honor system, they are essentially getting rid of the old honor system. There theoretically won't be this whole honor currency points where you do battlegrounds, you get honor, you buy gear. Supposedly, that's gone. I have to assume we're just going to wear whatever the hell gear we had on for PvE, and they're going to scale us to a flat level for the most part. They're going to scale us to a flat level when we get into PvP combat. People have been asking for that forever, but Blizzard obviously wants, there's a value there that they want to have progression. They want you to feel like you're not doing PvP just for the hell of logging in. They want you to feel like you're progressing as you put in effort and time into doing these games, and I think that's fair. I think that's good. So what they've done instead is there's this honor levels sort of system where you start at honor level 1, and it looks like this big talent tree, and as you do battlegrounds, you're kind of getting honor experience sort of to level between 1 and 50, and all along the way you're going to unlock all of these different PvP talents, which are basically abilities. So now, instead of going in to a fresh battleground as a freshly leveled 100 in Garbo gear and just getting one shot, you're going to go in, you're probably not going to get one shot, but all these other people that have been there longer than you are going to have all these cool abilities that you don't have. And it's going to be very tough for them, I feel, to really safely balance those abilities so that it's, you know, it's sort of kind of fair to a new player, you know, just fresh into the game. So we'll see how long it takes to actually level through those systems. From the sounds of it, I don't think it's going to be that strenuous. And they're putting the really important stuff, like, really, really early. I saw on the very first thing that you unlock, they may move these around, but I saw basically the trinket. So now instead of having a PvP trinket, because obviously we're not looking at PvP gear anymore, you have that ability that you unlock as a talent, and then you can choose between that and different talents if you're a crazy person. So that means, theoretically, maybe humans aren't so OP anymore. Maybe they still are. It depends on what else they put on that tier, because a human would have the choice of, instead of saying, I get an extra trinket slot because I'm a human, hooray, go me, you then say, all right, I'm a human, I still have every man for himself, assuming they don't take that away. They might, I don't know. Now instead of having to take that talent on that tree, I have a choice of these other talents. I'm kind of hoping to make those other talents kind of sucky, because otherwise humans are going to be just as OP as before, and I want to PvP something other than a human. I think they're great, but you get bored after a while, you know? So, yeah, so you level up through the system, you unlock all the talents, you get to level 50 and you have all the talents, and then, if you're feeling real cool and good about yourself, you can actually choose to reset to level 1, clear your progress, ascend, if you will, for all those Clicker Heroes fans, which I'm pretty sure it's just me, and reset your progress to level 1 and do it over again. To gain, like, every time you do that, you'll gain prestige levels. Now, prestige levels are something that they've locked all of the really cool prestige-y rewards behind. There's going to be some mounts. I have to assume there's going to be titles, like cosmetic stuff, and I think that is very cool. How if you have nothing but time and you're going to commit to like 1 or 2 characters and you're just going to do, it incentivizes doing non-rated battlegrounds in a way that you're intentionally gimping yourself, because you know you're badass. You know you can take on people without having all those extra talents. You probably know all the ways to do it because you're badass, right? It incentivizes taking on that challenge to show people exactly how much of a badass you are. So you'll end up with people that are in these low-level battlegrounds right along with the people that just finished leveling up at an equal power to them because they reset themselves. It kind of puts everybody on slightly more even footing, except for the people that are super good. They'll always be super good, and skill will always play a role. So I think that's actually really, really cool, and I can't wait to see exactly what kind of rewards they put behind that, what sort of abilities they have on those talent trees, because that is scary territory. From the sounds of it, a lot of utility abilities that had use in PvP but not so much in PvE are going to be put on this tree, which means they may actually be pruned from somebody that just did PvE. If you never PvP and you're just like a raider, you may end up with less abilities, because like less abilities that you probably, hopefully never used anyways, because they've been put on this PvP talent tree. And I think that's very interesting. I think it's going to be a real monster to try and balance. I am so glad that's not my job. Yeah, I really have hope for PvP in this next expansion. That sounds really freaking cool. They did not announce any new battlegrounds or any new arenas. Some people are quite upset about that because we didn't get any in Warlords either. I feel personally like we have a good amount, but then again, I don't do that many battlegrounds, so I'm not really the best authority on that. I prefer arenas personally. But I think we have a good number of maps, and it would be hard for them to add. There's only so many additional maps they could add without just doing sort of the Twin Peaks thing and repeating a game style. Just reskinning it, which I guess there's value in. It's kind of nice to have those reskinned ones with different map layouts, different line of sight, like, you know, different choke points. But there's only so much that can really be done there. And I don't know. I like the ones we have now. I'm still getting used to Silver Shard Mines and Deepwind Gorge. Silver Shard Mines I think is a blast. And Deepwind Gorge I understand on a level of knowing what everything does, but I still don't really get it. Anyways, that is a different matter. So I'm wondering, personally, if they're going to, if it looks like they put the human PvP trinket ability on this talent tree, I kind of want to know if they're going to put all of the other racials on there. Like, what if somebody wants to spec into Shadow Meld, or Stone Form, or Arcane Torrent? I think it'd be really cool if all of the PvP utility racial abilities were on that tree, but we don't know how it's going to pan out yet, and I didn't really inspect the still image that they showed us. And of course, it's still very, very early, so we will get to see. Other tiny tidbits of news, if you go over the website, they didn't announce this in the actual presentation, but it is listed on the new Warcraft Legion website. They are overhauling the transmog system to be more sort of Diablo-like, if you've ever done transmog in Diablo. Essentially, you collect appearances of items, and you just sort of have them saved in a journal instead of collecting the physical item. So it basically, it'll free up bank space. It'll let you clear out your void storage. Maybe they'll even delete board storage, I don't know. And then you can just transmog without having to keep the thing, which is super cool because I am forever losing things. I am the worst for accidentally vendoring things that are either A, part of my raid set because I'm a dummy, or B, something I wanted to transmog, so I put it in a corner of my bags, and I forgot about it, and then I vendored it while I was getting rid of some other crap. So, yeah, new transmog system. Very excited for that, and maybe there's a possibility, and this is coming out of my brain, nobody's said anything about this, but if they have the ability to add a journal with, like, these ability looks, I can't imagine it would be the worst thing ever to factor in recolors to that, to let you unlock or pay for or somehow get different color varieties of a look. So say you unlock, like, there's already a lot of recolored gear in the game, and I guess you would unlock existing recolors by collecting those different pieces of gear. But they could even add more of them and let you really, like, sort of like dyes in Diablo. I'd be on board with that. The one other thing that they mentioned on the website was that the expansion purchase will get you a level 100 boost. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I have a server filled with level 100 characters. The only two that aren't are one slot that I keep free for, like, whatever I feel like playing at the time. I've got a hunter on there, like an extra hunter, just because sometimes you want to be a lowbie hunter. And then my monk, which I'm actually leveling up because the monk artifact weapon variants look really freaking cool. I don't know what I'm going to do with level 100 boost. Maybe I just won't use it. Maybe I'll save it for one day in the future when Horde becomes super OP in PvP and I need to make some new characters on a Horde server. I have no idea. But yeah, if you buy the expansion, you get a new level 100 character. You won't need it for your Demon Hunter because they're a hero class. They're going to start late anyways, so congrats. I guess, I'm not upset about it. I just don't know what I'm going to do with it. So that is from what I know. That is all I know. That is what they announced and talked about. Those are my feelings on the expansion. I need more information. But so far, I am cautiously... I'm not cautiously optimistic. I'm really optimistic. I'm kind of hyped. They said there's going to be beta before or by the end of this year. I have to assume it's going to have something to do with BlizzCon in November. And the phrasing they used when talking about the beta, something along the lines of "we're going to get you all in." It gives me hope that I'll be able to get into the beta because I want in to dig through it and to find all the things that, you know, they don't really have time to announce and make blog posts about. I want to see what they're doing with battle pets, which didn't get talked about at all today. And I want to make a whole bunch of videos about it. So hopefully I'll be able to get in. I have to hope that having a BlizzCon virtual ticket, which it's a tradition by now, will give me a good shot. Maybe they'll hand them out for those. Maybe they'll just make it open beta. I don't know. I don't know anything, but I want in that beta. I want to dig through it. Obviously, the beta's not up yet, but I have to imagine it won't be very long. And if we're talking release speculation, let's say they do... So what is it? It's August right now. If they launch beta in 3 months, they might even launch it sooner than that. I have to imagine this expansion is going to be launched, like released, early next year. I want to say Q1 next year, like March-ish, which is still a really long time of Hellfire Citadel, but assuming they give us like a good month or two of the pre-patch, like a good month of the pre-patch, so that's in like February-ish, it's not the worst amount of time. They're giving us, we now have on the PTR the 6.2.1. The current PTR up right now has a release candidate build on it, so I am cautiously optimistic, this time cautiously, that we're going to get the flying patch on this upcoming Tuesday. If not this upcoming Tuesday, almost certainly the Tuesday following that. That will let us fly in Draenor, and it will also give us access to the new open world Heimel that has those three little new magic type pets, so that'll be kind of neat. And yeah, that is Legion. I may do another like early week vlog on Monday or so, just because just depending on what kind of info they give us on Sunday, I may want to talk more about it. And then of course you're welcome to drop by the stream anytime if you have any questions you want to ask me about how I think, or if you've got feelings you need to share them. Yeah, feel free to stop by my stream anytime I'm live, and we can talk it out. Now, thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions you would like answered on next week's vlog, leave them as a comment on the most recent vlog, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day.